Help me to reach 2,000 subscribers. The suitcase sat by the door, half-zipped. A strand of her red dress caught in the teeth of the zipper like a wound that refused to close. Seriously, Nathan, it's just a weekend with friends. Stop overreacting, Lily said, brushing past me to grab her charger from the counter. Her tone was sharp, defensive. But it wasn't the trip that had me frozen. It was the way she avoided my eyes, the way her phone vibrated and she snatched it up too fast, screen turned away. I didn't need proof to feel the truth. It was already gnawing at me, whispering in that quiet part of the mind that knows before the heart catches up. Who's going? I asked, keeping my voice calm, though the air felt thick with something unspoken. She sighed, that long, theatrical exhale she used when she wanted to make me feel like the unreasonable one. You know, just the usual, Emma, Brooke, maybe Ryan. The name hit me like a shard of glass. Ryan. Her friend from work. The same Ryan who'd texted her at midnight last week about some urgent report. The same one whose name she said a little too softly, too easily. Ryan. I repeated, my voice barely a whisper. She didn't look at me. He's part of the group. Don't make this weird. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny but because I finally saw it for what it was, a setup. She'd spent weeks conditioning me not to question it, not to notice the late replies, the sudden work trips, the perfume lingering in the car that wasn't hers. I took a step closer, close enough to smell her shampoo, feel her breath tremble against the air between us. Tell me the truth, Lily. Is there something going on with you and him? She froze, fingers stilling on her phone. For a heartbeat, I saw the flicker of guilt before she masked it with irritation. God, Nathan, you sound paranoid. Not everything is about cheating. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to be that kind of fool again. But love isn't blind. It just wears tinted glass, turning red flags into rose petals. She grabbed her bag and slipped her sunglasses on, even though the sun hadn't set. I'm leaving in 10 minutes. Don't wait up. The door closed behind her with a softness that hurt more than a slam. That night the apartment felt hollow. Every clock tick was a reminder of her silence. I walked to the kitchen, opened a bottle of whiskey, and sat in the dark. My phone buzzed once, her message. Got here safe. Don't be dramatic. I stared at it until the letters blurred. Something in me snapped then. Not rage but clarity. I'd spent months living with half-truths, pretending not to notice how her laughter had changed tone, how her eyes darted when I said I love you. I opened her laptop. The password was still our anniversary date. I told myself I wasn't snooping. I was surviving. The first thing that caught my eye was an email draft unsent. Subject: can't wait for the cabin. Body: finally a weekend without pretending. You make me feel alive again. It was signed with a single letter. L. For a long time I couldn't breathe. The room tilted, sounds collapsed into static. My reflection in the dark screen looked like someone else, someone who'd lost his place in his own story. Morning crept in through the blinds like an unwanted witness. I packed her things quietly, one by one. The dress she wore on our anniversary. The perfume she stopped wearing for me but started again for him. The photo of us at the beach, her smile radiant, my arm around her waist. Back when we still believed in forever. By noon, I drove 3 hours to the cabin she'd mentioned months ago. My heart didn't race. It moved in slow, deliberate beats, like it knew it was heading toward an ending. Her car was there, parked beside a silver sedan. I didn't have to check whose it was. I stood by the window looking in. She was inside, sitting at the table with Ryan. They were laughing over coffee, her hand brushing his. It wasn't lust. It was familiarity, the kind built in stolen moments. That hurt more. I knocked once. The sound made her jump. Ryan's face went pale. She opened the door, stammering, "Nathan, what are you doing here?" I smiled, though it felt like my face was cracking. Just dropping something off. Her eyes darted to the car, to the bag I carried. What is that?" "Your things," I said, setting it down on the porch. "Since you already moved on, I thought you wouldn't need to come back." Ryan started to speak, But I cut him off with a look cold enough to silence him. "You didn't have to come all the way here," she whispered. "Neither did you," I said. "But you did." The silence that followed was deafening. Birds chirped somewhere in the woods, oblivious. I turned to leave, but she grabbed my arm. "Nathan, please, don't end it like this. It was just confusion. I didn't mean to." Pulled my arm free. "You meant every text, every lie. Every night you said you were working late." Her eyes filled, but I didn't see remorse, only panic. Panic that she'd lost control of the story she'd written. "It's just a weekend with friends," she whispered again, desperate. I met her gaze, steady and final. "No, Lily. Just over. Forever." I drove back in silence. The sky stretched wide, endless, indifferent. For the first time in months, I didn't feel the urge to check my phone. I didn't need to know what she said next. That evening, I sat in the living room, surrounded by the ghosts of our life. The faint scent of her perfume, the empty space on the couch, the photo now face down on the shelf. And for the first time, the silence didn't hurt. It healed. I poured myself another glass, leaned back, and watched the sun dip below the horizon. The world outside kept moving. Cars passing, laughter echoing from somewhere down the street. But inside, everything had stilled. Love had left, betrayal had burned through every lie. And all that remained was truth. Bare, unflinching, merciless. I raised my glass toward the window and whispered to no one in particular. "Here's to forever." And this time I meant it.